All praises to the Most High Heavenly Father and His glorious Son. And we're giving thanks for the Ruach HaKodesh. We're going to come back again because I wanted to come over a little bit to because the Facebook video was not cooperating. Yeah, the Facebook video was not cooperating, right? So just trying to get the cameras adjusted where it can be comfortable. Now we was dealing with the TI issue, and we thought that this was a good opportunity to bring something to the forefront. And then many brothers and sisters don't know. Shalom, all my brothers and sisters. You don't know that sometimes the Most High can set you up. See? And sometimes, where you can get set up is that we can be so quick to start speaking on a thing. And we don't understand is that the Most High might use that very thing that we speaking on to bring some conviction or to show us something else. So, in that case, that's what we're looking at. All right. We got the armor of God all the way from Japan. Shabbat Shalom, King. Shabbat Shalom. Yep. Yeah, so we're going to take advantage of this TI issue. All right. And a lot of times we think that we right on target when we jump on people's bandwagon. And if I look at all of the different comments that we see on Facebook that's attached to this thing that T.I. had done as it relates to, taking his daughter to the gynecologist. What we got is we got a clip right here that we're going to play it first. We're going to play it, and then we're going to show you some things. And while the clip is playing, I'm going to be pulling up some scripture. All right, so here we go. Let's go.
Rapper T.I. was on a podcast, Ladies Like Us, and during the podcast he talked about his 18-year-old daughter, 18 years old, meaning she's an adult, and discussed the importance of her purity. Take a look.
Not only have we had the conversation, we have yearly trips to the gynecologist to check her height.
Oh, hey. I'm done with you right now.
So,
do you go with her? She's a prisoner.
Yes, I go with her.
You go with her? Somebody check on Deja.
I go with her.
She's a prisoner.
So let me tell you, right? So this is one time we go. I think this might have been after her 16th birthday. And this is what we do. Like, right after the birthday, we celebrate. And,
we go and check her hymen after.
And then,
what the?
Usually like the day after the party, she's enjoying her gifts. I put a sticky note on the door. Guy note. No. Tomorrow, 9:30.
Oh, this is great. So he was also asked about, how he's able to do this because, there are HIPAA regulations which prevent the disclosure of these types of meetings with doctors, and he addresses that in the next clip.
He's like, well, sir, I have to, in order for me to share information. I say, Deja, they want you to sign this. They want you to sign this
right now. I need to know if your hymen's still there.
So we can share information. Is there anything that you would not want me to know? Oh, okay. See, Doc, ain't no problem.
And then finally, he addresses the very accurate reality that the hymen isn't a good way of determining whether anyone is a virgin because it can be broken in many other ways. Here's what he has to say about that. You are the worst.
So then, right? Then they come and say, okay, well, I just want you to know that there are other ways besides sex that the hymen can be broken.
Right.
Like bike riding,
Really?
athletics, horseback riding.
That's aggressive.
That
is aggressive writing.
You know, just
Right.
other forms of athletic physical activity.
Is she an athlete?
No.
Oh, right. There you
So
go.
I say,
You're like, sorry,
I say,
doctor,
look,
that's
I say,
not a
look, doc.
possibility.
I say, look, doc.
She's not.
She don't ride no horses. She don't ride no bike. She don't play no sports, man. Just check the hymen, please.
So this is
Incredibly uncomfortable.
yeah, more than uncomfortable. So look, I know firsthand like what it's like to have so much of your value based on your purity, right? Because like Armenians in general are very conservative, and I grew up in a conservative household, and I remember the discussions about the importance of your hymen. And I mean, even till this day, there are marriages where if the woman doesn't bleed on the night of her wedding, it's a huge scandal. And back in the day, you know, a couple would consummate their marriage, and then the woman would have to display the sheets to prove that she was pure, right? And so being told over and over again by the most important man in your life, right, your father, that your value and your worth and your everything is based on whether or not your hymen is intact is gross. And it's also traumatizing for when you finally do decide that the time is right for you to become sexually active. You feel like you're worth nothing. You feel like you're not a valuable human being. You feel like you're not pure, like you're dirty, like you did something wrong. This is not okay. I don't know why the hosts of this podcast are giggling at this. It's not funny.
They're giggling because it's CI. And they got this huge guest on their show, and they don't want to stop and be like, yo, you're admitting things that actually cast you in an
Now, we really don't even need to go no farther, because basically what you're looking at is you're looking at a heathen that understands Israelite culture. But the heathen also understands that Israelite culture is not their culture as well. Okay, because when these laws, because that's what they are, when these laws were given, they was given to Israelites, also known as the Negro. And many times, even though brothers and sisters may not understand that they're Israelites, them laws have been sealed and embedded in their heart to the point to where sometimes even without the understanding of Scripture, they can just automatically live by these particular things. Now, I really like the way that T.I. handled himself, because it is a serious issue with him. Yet, it came off in like, he was able to relate something that was serious to him in a joking type of manner and maintain, you know, and that's one of the things that I do like about that brother, is that he is very articulate, and he has good orator skills. He knows how to talk, and then he don't allow himself to just be rattled by anybody. What I want you to see is, I want you to see this thing from the Scripture, because that heathen, she told just what the Scripture is going to read about the blood-stained sheet, and about, okay, so when you start looking at when these laws was in place, they'll use anything that they can to try and bring stuff to a place of extremists when it comes to us operating. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can get this plugged up right quick before Facebook die on me, because this is not good. Let's see if I can get that. Okay, we got that charge. I don't know how long Facebook gonna go, but we understand that. So here's one of the things that we can look at, because basically what they're really trying to do is they keep trying to get Israel to learn the ways of the heathen. And that is exactly what Israel are doing. Because basically what you did is you quoted the Scriptures and what the Most High said, and then you turn around in the same breath and said, this is detestable to me. This is gross to me. So the Most High's righteousness is gross to the heathens. And so they become mockers. It's amazing to me how Israel himself can say that they serve the Most High, and they can jump on the same bandwagon with the heathen in their mockery. Now, we're going to show you why the Most High put these laws in place, and why there's nothing wrong with what with what T.I. had done. Now, let's look at the mindset of the heathen first. And let's look at what the mindset of the heathen produced. One of the things that the heathen said is that how can he get away with this when you got HIPAA laws and stuff like that in place? Well, you know what? You got this world system put blockades in place so that we can't carry out the laws of the Most High and get them to the next generation. So they put blockades up that will stop us from being able to pass these things down to our children or to be able to enforce a particular set of things. This is Leviticus chapter 19, verse 29 and 31. We're going to commend that brother T.I. on today. I don't know that he'll ever see one of these videos, but even if he never do, we're still going to commend him because there are many other brothers that's going to fall into the same category, and many other brothers need to learn what the scripture have to say when it comes down to a father keeping watch over his daughters and guarding over his daughters and protecting his daughters in certain areas of transgression against the Most High. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 29 through 31. Do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land be full of whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. Let me ask the question by way of sevens. Is the land and the world that we live in, have it been full of whoredom? If it have, put a 7 up there. Because the average person say, well, I won't prostitute my daughter. I won't prostitute your daughter. But as we see, we're going to see many people prostitute their children and don't even understand that that's what they're doing. The land is already full of whoredom. He said, don't prostitute your daughters. And if you do prostitute your daughters, then the whole land is going to be full of whoredom. The whole land is full of whoredom. When you look at how many of our daughters, you see, do you think, now listen, T.I. and them got a show on TV right now where they getting rap artists from all over, the new people like The Voice or American Idol. They got a show like that. It is T.I., it is the Christian, Chance the Rapper, and then it is Cardi B. Do you think T.I. gonna let his daughter hang out with Cardi B? Do you think that he gonna let his daughter hang out with Cardi B? Guess what? If he allowed his daughter to hang out with Cardi B, he did just what the Most High told him not to do. Do not prostitute your daughters. To prostitute your daughters is not so much as you putting them on the corner, as much as it is you withdrawing the heads from them and letting them be exposed to all the different type of wickedness of this world. If he pulled their heads back away from his daughter and said, go on, you can hang out with Cardi B. She's a star. I'm a star. She's a star. You my child. Go on to Cardi B's issue. Go on to her thing. Do you think he's going to allow her to do that? Do you think that he allow his daughter to walk around the house listening to Cardi B's music? While Cardi B is promoting the prostitution of the daughters and causing the land to be full of whoredom. On the other hand, here you got a brother that's keeping close for watch, a watchful eye over his daughter to make sure that she maintains her purity. The world don't like that. The world don't like that at all. Because Satan controls the vast majority of us through the vehicle of lust. And lust is promiscuity, lasciviousness, unrestrained actions that lead to debauchery and all sorts of craziness. That's why you have all these different diseases and stuff out here. Now, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, even though it is a bad thing, it has to be said. But it's not a bad thing in the sense that many of our sisters did not know that they had been prostituted. Many of them did not know. You see? So you have a man where according to the Most High's righteousness, he will hook himself up with a woman that had never been tampered with or touched by any other man. You see how rare that is in this day that we living in? Back in the days of our forefathers, it was a way of life for them. It was a way of life for them. Hey, a man wouldn't take a woman if she had been tampered with by one man. When a man took a woman, she had to have her purity intact. But we have prostituted our daughters by not understanding the scripture. We became whores ourselves, whoring against the Most High's righteousness. And as a result of that, we taught to our daughters the whoredom that the world has come to know today. And the assault is against marriage. The assault is against the husband and the wife. The assault is against that. So you'll give the homosexual more rights than you'll give the married couple. You'll give the lesbian more rights than you'll give the married couple. Everybody can speak against the married couple and the people that have entered into this righteous thing. Everybody can speak against that. But can't nobody speak against the homosexuals, the two men, or the two women that's together. They have the nerve enough to claim that God loves everybody. God loves them that love him. He hates them that hate him. That's point blank, in period. It ain't going to change. They'll put all kind of laws in place. One day soon, we're going to be persecuted for these laws. We're going to be persecuted for that. You have many so-called church leaders right now who know these things, yet they have to bend themselves to the laws of this land. They don't love the Most High. The Most High loves those who love him. He hates those that hate him. And anytime you agree with the laws that are against the Most High, you become as one that hates the Most High yourself. Now, these people want to make it like what T.I. was doing was such a bad thing. Many of the fathers in Israel don't even know what the hymen is. Many of them don't even know what a hymen is. And the only way they figure out what a hymen is through the conversation. The more they talk, and the more that they can understand that it's simply the flesh wall. You see? And so they want to make the things that's righteous in this world righteous. They want to make the righteousness of the Most High an offense in the world that we living in. You see, she cared nothing about the Father's law, about the blood-stained sheep and all of that. But then she brought up, well, how can he do this? They got HIPAA laws in place. She is concerned about men's law. Many of our brothers and sisters miss things like this. Because when you take the mindset or the approach that I'm concerned about this laws against that. Okay, what about the Father's law? Whose law is greatest? His law or the laws of this world? Which law brings us into a place of righteousness and produces righteousness in the world? And which laws produce prostitution of our children and whoredom in the land? Hands down. Leviticus tells us to prostitute not thy daughters. And if we prostitute our daughters, then the land is going to be full of whoredom. I know that people didn't think that all of this was going to come out of that post that they put on there dealing with T.I. But it's much more that's going to come out of that. This is only the beginning. Because while we running around being deep about everything, we've been deep about everything, and then we, try to do all these different things against each other for these minute things. These are the major things, that the simplistic things that we ain't even thinking about. So it's going to open up even more. Let's see what we got. We're going to go back and we're going to read this again. We're going to jump over here and we're going to show you and let the people that sharing the post on Facebook determine whether what T.I. was doing is a righteous act or whether it is a wicked act. Many of you are going to be surprised by what you see because you have bought into the lies of this world system and you have become engrossed with the laws that are govern the wickedness of this system. You're not concerned about the laws of the Most High. You're not concerned at all. When I first seen the thing on T.I., I was like, oh man, that's great. Kudos to T.I. Kudos to T.I. That shows that fatherhood is in operation. In order for him to do those things every year, it means that he must be there with his children to do it. You got some joker out here sharing a post. Ain't seen his kids in years. Ain't sent them nothing. Ain't did nothing for them. But he's sharing a post. Oh man, that's crazy. That's crazy. In order for T.I. to do it, he have to be there with his child. He'll have to keep watch over that child. He'll have to know. Got somebody that ain't caring nothing about their children. That's posting things. Don't even understand what they doing. Let's go to the word. Let's go to the word. Had that thing up. Let's go to the word. Let's go to Sirach. We're going to go back to Sirach, chapter 42. Sirach, chapter 42. And this is a major thing that's most important because it's dealing with how a father is supposed to keep watch over his daughters. It says, prostitute not thy daughters, lest the land be full of whoredom. And if you're a father, you're saying, well, I would never prostitute my daughter, because prostitution in your mind has been limited to what this world have shown you about the women of the night and the women that's on the street. But when we start looking at the scripture, the fathers, the men that have daughters in this world, you're going to understand how you become the one to prostitute your daughters. You will understand and be able to see how you become the one to prostitute your daughters, and you will also understand what it takes to reverse that issue of prostituting your daughters. Because the land is already full of whoredom. You see? And in the olden days, we used to be able to differentiate the prostitute, which was the woman of the night, from the everyday average woman. Her attire set her apart. So we knew who was a prostitute and who wasn't a prostitute. Because the prostitute's attire and her dress was so extreme that there was no way to mistake who she was. In this day and time, the land is already full of whoredom because of the prostitution of the daughters. The prostitution of the daughters comes as a result of absentee fathers or men who are too busy and too occupied to keep close watch on their daughters. Let's go. We're going to start reading at the 9th verse. It says, the father wakes for his daughter when no man knows or no man is aware of it. It says, he cares for her, and his care for her takes away his sleep when she is young, lest she pass away the flower of her age, or in being married, lest she be hated. 10, in her virginity, he cares for her, lest she should be defiled and gotten with child in her father's house and having a husband, he cares for her in having a husband as well, or else she should misbehave herself. He also cares for her when she is married, lest she be barren. Keep a sure watch over a shameless daughter, or else she'll make you a laughingstock unto your enemies, and a byword in the city, and a reproach among the people, and make you ashamed before the multitude. It says, now the father that keeps close watch over his daughter, he wakes up out of his sleep when don't nobody know it, because he's concerned for his children. The care for that daughter from the time that she is young, when young girls or children, they go through many things. He said, and through the course of this care, he loses his sleep, because he can't sleep unless he knows that his daughter is safe. He said he have to care for her. When it comes to marriage, she have to be taught what her role is as a wife, lest she get married and then misbehave herself shamefully with her husband. He has to have a concern and a careful watch over her in where her virginity is concerned, lest she become promiscuous and then come up pregnant in his house. And if she comes up pregnant in his house, she causes him to be a laughingstock and a byword amongst all of the people that he associated with. You know what? This stuff, we are numb to this. This stuff don't even bother us. But back then, they understood these things. Me and now, we let our daughters move their boyfriends in. We hear them having sex in the next room. And when they come up saying that they pregnant in our house, we don't even blink at that. We walk on out as though it ain't nothing wrong with it, because we become numb to the Most High's righteousness, and we've become accepting of everything in this world system. They're knocking a brother who is operating according to some biblical principles, whether he understands this or not. Let me show you what I mean. Men don't think that. But a real father that has daughters, he understands what it is to care for that child when she is young. He had to understand it. He keep a close watch on them, because this world is so full of perverseness and wickedness, and we have so many perverts and pedophiles out here that you have to care or watch closely over your children. He understands that because of all of the things that we're exposed to, our children are exposed to on TV and on cable. And now that we got all of these different fire sticks that the children can be watching any type of thing. You don't understand that when you don't keep a close watch over your children, you are prostituting your daughters, because you are giving them the freedom now to allow other things to come in and cause them to be taken by a seed of lust or promiscuity. Let's go here. Let's go to that's not it. Where did I get those things from? Where did I get those things from? Let's see here. And that's amazing how that happens. That is amazing how that happens. I'm going to find it. That was Deuteronomy chapter 22. That's Deuteronomy chapter 22. And we start listening at this stuff, and it make it seem like that brother was dead wrong. And men gonna have to stand up and be men in this hour. Men gonna have to be men because I'm telling you, man. I just listen at some of the things that brothers go through and some of the things that brothers have to say when it comes to dealing with their children. And it's always about the mother. Man, ain't no woman never gonna have that kind of authority. Ain't no woman ever gonna have that type of authority over a man. Any woman that has that type of authority over a man, it's because you're a lost man. You're operating outside the will of the Most High. But you moving to the Most High's righteousness. You know, ain't no woman gonna have that type of authority over no man to where he can't do what the Most High instructed him to do, where his children are concerned. Let's go and find this scripture that we read last time. Okay, we're going to start at Deuteronomy 22, verse 13. Let's see. This for some of the brothers and sisters that you thought you was doing one thing with this video, but the video is now boomeranging. It's boomeranging with God's word to show not just the men, but also to show the women how they have been against the Most High. Your daughters have been prostituted because you won't bring yourself up under the subjection of a righteous man's leadership. So when you get ready to go and buy your clothes, the first thing you do is you go get the tightest jeans that you can find to put on. You buy the nicest thing that you can do to look good. And that's what you display to your daughters that's coming up behind you. And then your daughters, when they come up, they're going to take what you did to the next level because they're going to say what you did was old-fashioned. And your skirt was tight. But now mine's going to be tight and it's going to be 2 inches shorter. And you're going to prostitute the next generation of daughters as well because she's going to take it to the next level too. She's going to take it to the next level too. And we don't understand that all the time we're going against the Most High. It says here, if any man takes a wife and goes into her and he hates her, if any man takes a wife and then he has intercourse or he has sex with her and then he hates her and then he gives an occasion of speech against her, that means that he's speaking ill of her. And then he bring up an evil name upon her and say, I took this woman, and when I went into her, when I had sexual intercourse with her, I found that she was not a maid. I found that she was not a virgin. Then, this is the care of a father. Because when you're a father, you'll care to your daughter to the point to where, you know what, ain't nobody going to bring a slanderous accusation against my daughter because I know that I have raised her right. And not only that, I'm going to be able to prove that whatever the slanderous accusation is that's being brought against my daughter, who I've raised right, I am going to debunk that. So this is what the father does. It says, then shall the father of the damsel and the mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city gate. They're going to bring a token of the damsel's virginity to the elders at the city gate. And you try that this world system have put laws in place to keep what my child is doing a secret from me, even though it's wickedness. They're keeping it a secret because they want the wickedness to continue to perpetuate itself throughout the earth. They want the earth to continue to be full of whoredom. So they heap up laws. He said, but this father and this mother, they brought the token virginity to the elders. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hated her. And lo, he had given occasion of speech against her Lo, and he's coming before the elders lying against my daughter, saying, I found not thy daughter a virgin, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. And the elders of that city shall take that man and chastise him. What is he saying? He said that that father kept a watchful eye over his daughter, and he kept care over his daughter, and he was concerned about her body, and he was concerned about keeping her from promiscuity or lasciviousness. He was careful to make sure that she remained pure until her wedding day. And after her and her husband consummated the marriage through sexuality, once they left out of the room, the father and the mother now had the responsibility to go in there and take the blood-stained sheet off of the bed and bring it. You see, they fold the blood-stained sheet up, fold it up, and tucked it away. And when this wicked individual brought these wicked accusations against this daughter, claiming that when he married her, she did not have her purity, the mother and the father, they went and unpacked it. And they brought it to the elders. And when they got there, they spread out the cloth that had the stain of blood on it. The blood was the evidence that their daughter maintained their purity, that she was indeed a virgin. It was the father's responsibility to watch over that. If the father did not watch over his daughter, he would be the one that was caused a prostituting her. Because when children are left to themselves, they're going to become displeasing to the Most High. It's the father's responsibility to keep watch over a shameful daughter. Because some daughters just get loose and get wild and get out there. Well, it's still the father's responsibility to keep a shameful daughter, a shameless daughter in check. That's for the men. That's for the men. And it's for the women. It's for every man and woman that can't keep a marriage together. It's for every man and woman that bring children into the world and fail to understand that the responsibility of that child is both of you. And you got a responsibility to the Most High to maintain a connection. Even if you can't live life together and you're separated, you still have the responsibility to maintain a spirit of agreement when it comes to this child getting the necessary things that they need to get. And by that standard, I mean, what can you say? You see, T.I.'s daughter is 18 years old. She ain't walking around pregnant. She probably got all kind of dudes running in and out the house and all of that. Hey, man, that's fatherhood. That's what fatherhood is all about. You got many brothers out here that can speak on a video, talk some stuff, but you know what? You couldn't even stand it. You can't stand in them shoes. You don't know what your children doing. Many of us are fathers. Many of us are fathers. Some of us are fathers, and some of us are fathers and know our daughters got 3, 4, 5 babies. All of them got different babies' daddies. We don't know who to call son-in-law. We got so many son-in-laws, we forgetting what their names is. We don't think that none of that responsibility falls on us, but it does. Every last drop of it falls on us. Because whatever that daughter comes and turns out to be in her adulthood is a direct result of the father's watchfulness. This is scripture. We got plenty more of them that we can pull out, but we ain't going to pull a lot of them out. I just wanted to go on there just to show people that sometimes you can start sharing things on Facebook with one mindset, and then it can boomerang back on you. I know that this thing done boomerang back. It done made a mini man. It's staring right in the face. Some of us are fathers. We got daughters. Every woman that's hanging on the stripping pole is some daddy's daughter. Every woman. Every woman that's out there on dope, every woman that's in a bad place in life is somebody's daughter, some father's daughter. And her life had been prostituted. It's prostituted in several ways. It can be prostituted through the seed of lust and promiscuity, or it can be prostituted in the standpoint that they're wayward children away from the Most High. Let's give you some examples. And some of you brothers on Facebook, some of you brothers on Facebook and on YouTube that you got daughters, you might need to repent. But you ain't never even heard of this type of video. You ain't never even looked at it. We're going to show you a couple of different women. Let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 5. Proverbs, chapter 5. Let's show you some of them. Because some of these are your daughters. Some of these are our daughters. These are our daughters. And our daughters are in this condition because of our lack of doing what the Most High instructed us to do. I know it's strong meat, but it is what it is. Somebody got to say the things that won't nobody else say. This ain't no day to be talking about who cares who Esau is. Let's talk about your daughter. The one that's out there dancing on the stripping pole. The one you don't know how to find out how to get. The one that you're ashamed of, but it's your fault. Let's talk about that. My son, attend to my wisdom, and bow down thy ear unto understanding, that thou mayest regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drop as honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil, but her end is bitter as wormwood, sharper than a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on life. Lest thou should ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, that thou cannot know them. Hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not near the door of her house, lest thou give thy honor unto others, and thy years unto the cruel. Lest strangers be filled with your wealth, and your labors be in the house of a stranger, and thou would mourn at the last when your flesh and your body are consumed. And you'll say, how I've hated instruction, and hated and despised the reproof. And I have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined my ear unto them that instructed me. I was an almost evil in the midst of the congregation and the assembly. Drink waters out of thy own cistern, and running waters out of thy own well, lest thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and the rivers of water in the streets. Let them be thine, and thine alone, and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as a loving hind and pleasant, and a pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be therefore ravished always with her love. And why will thy, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he pondereth all his goings. His own iniquity shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sin. He shall die without instruction. This is the instruction to the young man, because of the fatherless, no responsibility dealing with men that have produced daughters in the earth that they have not kept a close, watchful eye over. This is what gets produced in the world, and they become wickedness to ensnare the righteous children of the Most High. The lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb. Prostitute not thy daughters, lest the land be full of whoredom. How many women do you know lingering out here? Got the right words to say to a young man that's trying to serve the Most High. You see? Because not only do the Most High, the Father has to keep a watchful eye over the woman because she is prompted with the spirit of fornication. When men have their first sex, in most cases, a woman drugged them into it. They ain't saying nothing bad about a woman. We're saying something bad about that woman's daddy, because it's not that woman's fault. When we start looking at the testament of Reuben, Reuben was one that got snared into sleeping with his father's wife, lost his inheritance and lost his blessing behind it. And he understood. He said that Satan had the power over women, but he didn't have the power over man. He said no woman has the power to cause a man to go into fornication. He said so she uses outward expressions to attract and entice a man. So the jeans is tight, the breast cleavage is showing, the hair is made up, all of these things because she wants to have intercourse with him, but she can't make a man lie down with him. So she got to attract him using outward expressions. And she said when she come up against a man of character that's not turned on because she got a big booty, not turned on because the cleavage is showing, he got more character than that. He said then she uses other means of craft to bring him into that snare. These are the actions of our daughters who their fathers have fallen down on their responsibility. And it's not just limited to the fathers falling down on their responsibility, because many times it's the mother's hand that have caused the whole house to fall apart. For the book of Proverbs says, a wise woman builds the house, but the foolish woman tears her house down with her own hand. That's the woman that won't take no type of negotiation, period. She won't be content until she can get rid of the man and get up from up under that man's righteous leadership and do her own thing. She'll tear her house down with her own hand and cause that father to not be able to keep a watchful eye over his daughter, and the land is full of whoredom because they have prostituted the daughters. You see? We have a daughter out there right now that she needs to get a man to come into fornication. And she can't just make him lay down with her. So she'll practice on saying the right words, for her mouth drips like honeycomb and is smoother than oil. Do you know how many men that's married enter into extramarital affairs and then say, man, well, you know, I can just talk to her. I can't talk to my wife like this. You know why? Because her mouth is dripping honey and it's smoother than oil. But she is as bitter as wormwood because she is bringing a married man into an adulterous affair and leading him into wickedness. She is bringing a young man that's striving to do the right thing into fornication and bringing him into wickedness. Her mouth drops as honeycomb and her words are smoother than oil. But she is bitter as wormwood, sharper than a two-edged sword. Her steps go down to hell. So unless you ponder the path of life, her ways are so movable that there's no way that you can understand them. You'd be surprised how many men have forsaken the women and the mother of their children to chase after a woman whose ways are so movable that you don't know which direction she gonna go. Everybody want to be deep though. Everybody want to be deep, but you can't deny what you see on TV. You can't deny what you see on the Love of Hip Hop. That's some men's daughters. You can't deny what you see on the housewife, the basketball wife. You can't deny what you see on TV. You can't deny what you see on Pornhub and XXX and all the X-rated film. You can't deny that. Those are men's daughters that have been prostituted because men didn't keep a watchful eye on them. You can't deny these things. You can't deny it. Only way you can deny it is that you can stick your head in the sand. You can get on Facebook and spend all of your time there and never come out and look at the real world. But the true child of God, he lives where everybody is living. He lives where it's life. He don't preoccupy himself where things are dead. This is the book of our ancestors. When we go into this book, we now have entered into the place of dead men. Can't find nothing in there like that. You can find comparables in there and things that give you sprinkles of advice and sprinkles of direction. But you can't just stick your head in here and hide from life. You got to come out of here and you got to look at this world that you're living in. You got to go outside. You can't deny it that when you go to the gas station to pump some gas, that wayward woman is there. That responsibility that man fell down on is right there. You can't deny that. You can't deny it with your sons. Because this is the woman that's producing sons as well. Them sons get prostituted as well. They don't get prostituted in a sexual manner. They get prostituted in the way that they go against the Most High. They're not being taught the Most High's righteousness. Everything gonna reproduce after its own kind. But we'd rather be deep. You see? That's one. Let's show you another one. Let's go to Proverbs, 7th chapter. I learned these things when I was young. I didn't know about the watchful eye and all that. I learned these things when I was young because when I was a young man, I was reading these things. These was the women. These were the women. This is the Most High's way of letting me know, boy, you ain't nothing. You think you out here, you a player, you ain't no player. You a sucker. You let these women just use you any kind of way, and you think that you caught her. Boy, she seen you before you drove up. Before you ever came in a nightclub, she seen you at the grocery store and already had declared that what she was going to do to you. And when she did see you coming into the nightclub, she seen you when you hit the door. She was on the other side, and it took you all night. And while you was looking at her, I'm going to catch her. I'm going to catch her. She was breadcrumbing you in the whole time. Don't no man get no woman like that. Let me show you something. Let me show you something. And sisters, I don't want y'all to feel bad about this message because messages like this make you cautious. When you're responsible for raising your daughters, you have the instruction of the Father right in the pages of these books. If the physical father ain't there to keep a watchful eye over her, then you put the watchful eye over her by going according to this instruction that come from the father concerning the watchful eye of the daughter. Let's just see if we can pull this up. The Testament of Reuben. Let's see. Let's see if we can find it. I know I can find it. Sweetie Pie. Yes. Oh, dang it. Nope, I ain't gonna find it. Let me see. This might be it. Man. Dang. Okay.
Yeah. What you looking for?
Hold on, I'm gonna try to pull it up on here. Shoot. Let's see.
You through with the TI?
No.
Video on my phone?
Yes, I am.
What you trying to pull up?
Okay. Okay, let's see here. Let's see, I might have it.
Okay.
Let's see here. don't know. I just don't know where it's at.
What you looking for?
Let's see. Man,
What is it you looking for?
I gotta
man?
find it. Elder Moniel sent it to me some time ago.
What are you looking for?
I'll know when I see it.
Is it something you put on my phone?
No. Okay, I got it.
I need this in here in case you need it.
Okay, I got it. Yep. Let's see here. Let's go here. Let's start at 6th chapter. This is the 2nd chapter of the testament of Reuben. Reuben was the first son of Jacob. He said, therefore, my children, I say unto you, observe all things whatsoever I command you, and ye shall not sin. For a pit unto the soul is the sin of fornication, separating it from God and bringing it near to idols, because it deceiveth the mind and understanding, and leadeth down young men to Hades before their time. For many hath fornication destroyed, because though a man be old or noble, or rich or poor, he bringeth reproach upon himself with the sons of men, and derision with Beliar. For ye heard regarding Joseph, how he guarded himself from a woman, and purged his thoughts from all fornication, and found favor in the sight of God and men. For the Egyptian woman did many things unto him, and summoned magicians, and offered him love potions. But the purpose of his soul admitted no evil desire. Therefore, the God of your fathers delivered him from every evil and hidden death. For if fornication overcomes not your mind, neither can Beliar overcome you. For evil are women, my children, and since they have no power or strength over man, they will use wiles by outward attractions, that they may draw them into themselves, and whom they cannot bewitch by outward attractions, him they overcome by craft. For moreover, concerning them, the angel of the Lord told me and taught me that women are overcome by the spirit of fornication more than men, and in their heart they plot against men, and by means of their adornment they deceive first their minds, and by the glance of the eye instill the poison, and then through the accomplished act they take them as captives. For a woman cannot force a man openly, but by a harlot's bearing she beguiles him. But by a harlot's bearing she beguiles him. But by a harlot's bearing she beguiles him. Because that harlot is some man's daughter who didn't keep a close watchful eye over her when she was coming up. And because of that, he prostituted her. And this is the woman that she turned out to be. A woman cannot force a man into sexuality openly, but by a harlot's bearing, she deceives him. Flee, therefore, fornication, my children, and command your wives and your daughters that they adorn not their heads and their faces to deceive the mind, because every woman who uses these wiles has been reserved for eternal punishment. You wonder why you put the lipstick on. You wonder why you have to put the eyeshadow on. And you wonder why all of these outward external things have to be adorned in that manner. Because they way deep down, hidden on the inside, it's about attracting a man to you who can fornicate and satisfy the lustful desires. These are the things that are born out of those daughters that have been prostituted because of the fathers not having a watchful eye over them. For thus they allured the watchers. They allured the watchers, and the watchers are the fallen angels. Don't tell me that no wayward woman ain't bad. Don't tell me that you think that you the player, that you think you the pimp, that you got the power over these women. Don't tell me that you got no power over no woman. They were so bad in their makeup and in their beauty that they allured the children of heaven and caused the angels to fornicate against the Most High. You think you bad? You think you got women? You talking about multiple wives? You want 2 or 3 wives? Boy, you're a fool. You're a sucker. You've been duped. You've been had. You've been hoodwinked, duped, bamboozled. Ain't nowhere in the world no man gonna have control over no woman. That don't happen like that. But we like being deep. So here you go. This deep enough for y'all? Is this deep enough for everybody? It said, for thus they allured the watchers who were before the flood. For as these continually beheld them, they lusted after them, and they conceived the act in their mind. For they changed themselves into the shape of men and appeared to them when they were with their husbands. When they were what? When they were what? You see why the act was so wicked now? I know that your 66 books don't go into detail to bring no fullness to what's happening in the world today. He said, but these women were so beautiful and were so bad that the angels changed their shapes into men and appeared before the women while they were with their husbands. You're talking about prostituting? Talk about the land being full of whoredom? Which the land being full of whoredom? You can't see that the land is full of whoredom. You ain't got no answers for that. But we got all the answers in the world. When it comes to trying to find out who the 12 tribes of Israel are, where the 12 tribes are scattered, we got all of it in the world. When we try to find out the deep hidden Masoretic texts of the ancient Paleo Hebrew language, we got all that. But you ain't got nothing for these simplistic things that we have to live by on a daily basis. These things, these principles that have to be taught to our children, to our sons, and to our daughters. You ain't got no time for that. You want to be deep? Okay, here's deep. Let's go further. And the women, lusting in their mind after their forms, gave birth to giants, for the watchers appeared to them as reaching even unto the heavens. Beware therefore of fornication. And if you wish to be pure in your mind, guard your senses from every woman, and command the women likewise not to associate with men, that they also may be pure in mind. For constant meeting, even though the ungodly deed be not wrought, are to them an irremediable disease, and to us a destruction of Beliar and an eternal reproach. For in fornication there is neither understanding nor godliness, and all jealousy dwell in lust thereof. Therefore I say unto you, ye will be jealous against the sons of Levi, and will seek to be exalted over them, but ye shall not be able, because Reuben fell by this thing and had committed an act with one of his father's wives, and he lost his inheritance in everything. And he said, because of these things, you gonna be jealous of your own brother. You see, when we start talking about prostitute not thy daughters, Who do you think it was that caused Reuben to fall into the act of fornication and commit the great sin? It was some man's daughter that didn't keep a close, watchful eye over them. I know. It all started with the T.I. video. But see, the Most High let the video boomerang and say there's going to be some things that's brought up out of there that's going to challenge these brothers and sisters to get in a real place for real. You talking about serving the Most High? We talking about we're going to serve the Most High? How are you serving the Most High? How are you serving the Most High? You think you're serving the Most High by quoting Scripture? You think you're serving the Most High about having a whole library of different books? That ain't how you serve the Most High. You serve the Most High when you do what the Most High told you to do. When it starts with your own children, your own husband, your own wife. That's where your service for the Most High starts. Because based on what you do in that house that you're serving the Most High, when your children get grown and leave the door, it's going to determine whether you are serving the Most High. Many of us say we serving the Most High, but we know our sons are out there toting guns and got crack sacks and doing all of this other stuff. But we praising the Most High. We pray, oh, Most High, bless my son. Oh, Most High, bless. And the Most High said, I ain't doing nothing. That's your responsibility. You go out there and deal with them. Many of the men are ashamed of their daughters because of the condition that they're in. We got TVs, we got the fire sticks, we got cable, we got all that. We see the show the Godfather of Harlem. We didn't see the show Godfather of Harlem. We see the daughter on heroin out there. We see the father that loved the daughter on heroin out there. But he can't despise the daughter because she's on heroin, because he's the heroin dealer. And it's him that is the reason that the daughter is in the condition that she in. And the brothers out here that have our sisters in all of these different places, you the reason they in there. You see? And you ain't got no room to talk about nobody. You can't talk about T.I. because he's a worldly man, because he might be a worldly man, but in this particular place, he was operating according to biblical principles. And many times we don't understand everything that's contained in the scripture. That's why I tell the younger brothers some of the time, sometimes you need to just go sit down and shut your damn mouth and listen, because you don't know. We speak about things that we know, and sometimes when things that people know are being spoke about, if you don't know them, you're confused about it or misunderstood. That's the time that you should be quiet, because the older people know things that the younger people don't know. Now, tell me, to my young kings that like to fight, that like to war, tell me you knew what I just showed you. Tell me you knew it was there. Tell me you knew. Don't no man catch no woman. Don't no man entice no woman. You can't entice no woman. You can't make yourself look good enough to entice a woman. You can't find a car that's pretty enough to entice a woman. When you go out there trying to find the car to entice the woman, you know what? It's because she have already enticed you. You have already been attracted. But the sisters that operate in this manner, they operate because the watchful eye of their father. The land is full of whoredom. Can't nobody deny that. Is there anybody that can deny that the land is full of whoredom? Is there anybody that can deny that the daughters of Israel have been prostituted? Is there anybody that can deny that? And it's all through the scripture. Only problem is that we don't want to look at it. And see, when we start talking about the daughters of Zion getting judged in the book of Isaiah, the 4th chapter, the 3rd chapter, where it's talking about, let's read it, because it's something that I really like to show some brothers in here. I'm not going to deal with this polygamy thing because I don't have time to be getting entangled into no meaningless fights or no meaningless arguments. If you want to have 5 women up under your roof that you're trying to satisfy, you go ahead and do that. You can't a man can't satisfy one woman. If the fallen angels coming from another dimension couldn't satisfy the women, what make you think you in your mortal sinfulness can satisfy him? But if that's what you want, then it's your life. You can do that. I'm not going to be no advocate against it because every man have a right to live his own life. But if that's what you want, you go in and do that. But I'm going to look at the scriptures so that we can start seeing some things just so we know that they're there. Let's go to Isaiah 3rd chapter. Y'all still with me? Y'all still with me on YouTube? Y'all still with me on Facebook?
I'm with you.
Y'all still with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Shalom. What's going on, Montel? Hey, Montel, I'm gonna tell you, man, that I really enjoyed myself at that last thing that y'all done. And me and my wife got to go out there and attend that, man. That music was so wonderful, boy. We just danced all night. That was beautiful. Keep up the good work, King. Okay, now what we're dealing with the responsibility. Now, our fathers going to have to start being responsible for their daughters. And if you separated from the mother, that don't mean that you can't keep a watchful eye on them. Sometimes all a daughter need is just for a father to be concerned about her. If he concerned about her and just show up on a regular basis, he ain't even got to be there hovering over all the time. When you got to hover over a daughter, that's that shameless daughter. That's that daughter that's headstrong, that want to do her own thing. So you don't give her no air. But now you got the other daughters that when we keeping a watchful eye over them daughters, sometimes all we have to do is show up or call them on the phone on a regular basis. Let them know that I love them. Let them know how important it is for them to be pure. That don't be out here. You know what? Daughters will appreciate that love that's being shown. You ain't even got to be there. You ain't even got to be there. You see? But it had to be reversed somewhere. Everybody want, you know what? You want to put the ingredient, you want to put the label on the bottle. Okay, I put the label on the bottle. Okay, I got the bottle. Now I stamp Hebrew Israelite on there. Only problem is, it can't nobody drink out the bottle because it ain't no ingredients in it. And this is the condition of many of our brothers. You got the label on the bottle, but you don't have the stuff on the inside. And when you don't have the stuff on the inside, you bypass all of the things that are natural, that are pertaining to the life that you live in, to the wife that you're with, to the children that you're responsible for, to the job that you got to work, to the bills that you got to pay, to the car that you got to drive, to the tags that you got to renew. See, you'll bypass all of that stuff and stay in areas of science fiction. I'm going into the book of Enoch, into the cosmos. I'm worried about whether the Sabbath is kept by the moon or whether it's on the evening. I'm worried about everything except those things that I should be worried about. How do we undo our land, being the black community, being the Negro, being the Hebrew Israelite of the Bible? The one that was sold into slavery and lost his identity. How do we get back? How do we get to the point to where our land is unpolluted? How do we pull our daughters off the stripping pole and give them righteous lives to live before the Most High? How do we get our daughters away from their waywardness? How do we get our daughters back in the responsibility of seeking the Most High in His righteousness? How do we get our daughters back? Because if we don't get our daughters back, then we are in trouble. Because our daughters is the greatest source of help that the men of Israel are going to ever have. And I will say this again. Our women will become our greatest possession. They will be our greatest asset or our worst possession. There ain't no in-between ground. It's going to be one or the other. How do we get back? So let's show you another facet of our daughters. Because in the days to come, many men's hearts are going to bleed. Why are your hearts going to bleed? Your hearts is going to bleed because of the judgment that the Most High bring to your daughters, to our daughters. Every daughter has a father. And if that daughter is walking in ways that are not right, our hearts are going to bleed when the Most High plagues them with the circumstances of life that we come to know as judgment. Watch this. Watch me show you. Now, the testament of Reuben told you that because women didn't have power to make a man lie down with her and fornicate, she used means of external attractions to make herself look good so that a man could be drawn in. Solomon said that her mouth was smooth as oil and it dripped like honeycomb. She used that smooth words and those smooth oil and the outward attraction to draw a man in. It said that the Egyptian woman, she called magicians and cast spells and put love potions out there on Joseph. Joseph will come in and she'll have the porn on and the soft music. She tried everything she could to trick Joseph into fornicating with her, but it didn't work. Let me show you. Let's look in the world that we're living in right now. Because everything in this book is dead. And ain't nothing dead ever produced anything that was living. And the Most High could close this book up and he could do away with every book on the planet. But the things that he had created that's still living according to his law, that's still being obedient, the trees, the grass, the fowls, the air, the ocean, the fish, the everything that's still living bears witness of the Most High. You can't take something that's dead and then it calls you to live. It's not going to happen. So let's look at what our forefathers that was dead said, and then we come out of the graveyard and then come into this life that we live in so that we can understand. Verse 12. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they that lead you cause thee to err and have destroyed the path of your way. You know the women that are leading? They're leading because of the failure of the father to care for her in areas that were pertaining to marriage as to what her position was going to be. I answered. It's going to just pick it up. Yeah.
Hello.
They causing the children are our oppressors because the watchful eye of the father was not over those daughters. And those daughters have now produced offspring that have been prostituted and have not the father's righteousness in them. And therefore, they become the oppressors of our nation. Do you not know that those gang members and stuff like that, they are women's children? They are women's children who have been forsaken by their fathers and then brought up to be raised by the streets. It's what it is. He said, you want to know my people. This is another way that you can identify who biblical Israel is, by the events that happen. He said, as for my people, this is going to be the condition that they in. The children are going to be their oppressors. And the reason why their children going to be oppressing them is because women will be ruling over them. And I never meant for women to rule over them. I meant for the father to keep a watchful eye over his daughter so that his daughter could understand what her place would be. But because that father fell down on his responsibility, this woman right now is operating out of order. And she is producing the next generation of children because that father will not take care of his responsibility as it relates to those children. And as a result of that, they're oppressing everybody. Verse 16, moreover, the Lord said, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with outstretched necks, stretched forth necks, and wanting eyes, and walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet, therefore the Lord will smite them with the scab of the crown of the head. He will smite the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion with the scab, and the Lord will discover their secret parts. Now, let's come out of the book of our dead ancestors, and let's apply what the dead ancestors said would happen when the land got full of whoredom, if the fathers fell down, and if the mothers prostituted their daughters by not teaching them the right things. He said that the daughters are going to grow up not knowing that they're supposed to have a submissive spirit, and they're going to walk with outstretched necks, and they're going to walk around menacing and tinkling of their feet with their high heel shoes on, because they ain't been trained and they don't know who they are, and so they skipping around with their high heel shoes on, and they got their earrings swinging, and they got their jewelry and their bracelet, and the Most High said, I will smite the daughters of Zion at the crown of the head, and I will discover their secret parts. Those daughters of Zion that's living according to the testament of Reuben in this world, who goes through all this extra outward stuff to do this and do that, you look, they'll go to the Chinese man, and they got the Brazilian weave, and they got all of this. And keep this in mind, I've been a hairstylist for over 30 years. All praises to the Most High that none of my people ever enter into this particular place right here. But I would bet almost 95% of the women that wear hair weave have been smited in the crown of the head. There's baldness. And they're walking around proud and proud, proud. The Most High is going to judge our daughters. And when he judges our daughters, it's going to be because of us. You see, they have to wear the Brazilian weave, and it makes them proud of being, but you know what? How can you be proud when you don't have no hair up under that wig that you're wearing? How can you be proud? See? Judgment. Let's keep going. In that day, the Lord will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet, and the cost, and their round tires like the moon, talking about loop earrings and all that, the chains and the bracelets and the mufflers, the bonnets and the ornaments of the legs, and the headbands, and the tablets, and the earrings, the rings and the nose jewels, the changeable suits of apparel, and the mantles, and the wimples, and the crisping pins, and the glasses, and the fine linen, and the hoods, and the veils. And it shall come to pass that instead of a sweet smell, there shall be a stink. And instead of a girdle, there shall be a rent. And instead of well set hair, there shall be baldness. And instead of a stomacher, there shall be girdling of sackcloth, and a burning instead of beauty. He said, instead of a sweet smell, then guess what? You used to have a sweet smell when you was purity, but now you got the stench of yeast infection, the drip of gonorrhea, the syphilis, the AIDS virus. You got all of these different things that the Most High said. He said instead of well-set hair, you're going to have baldness. I'm going to smite you at the crown of your head. Because of these things, all of these things are happening, daughters of Zion, right now. I guarantee you, if you went in the nightclub, 8 out of 10 women have this hair in their head, and they missing and they tinkling. But I bet if you set 8 of them out of the 10 up, and you got them and held them down and got ready to take that weave off of their hair, they would kick and they would scream and they would cry like babies, and they would literally go into a place of utter humiliation because they know what's up under there. It is the Most High judgment, and this is what he's doing, judging the daughters because of the failure of the fathers to keep a watchful eye over them. Teach them what they should know. But y'all want to be deep. Y'all want to be deep and pretend that this world is not living in this condition, and you pretend that you don't see it, all the while quoting the scripture out of your mouth. You quote the scripture as though you have the answer. But you're too scared to leave the place of dead men and walk amongst the living with that you know. Let's keep going. He said, thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty men in war. And her gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. 4th chapter. And in that day, that day is now. You know what? In that day that the Most High begins to judge the daughters of Zion, it is the same day that men would want to heap up to themselves 7 and 8 wives. He said, in that day, in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man. In the Hebrew Israelite community, when did you start hearing? Let me say what I'm not saying before I say what I am saying. I'm not against or for polygamous relationships. I just thought I'd throw that out. That won't have no joker come back wanting to debate me about nothing. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, because in the scripture, the thing that I'm trying to point out is I'm connecting what's happening in this day with what the Father said would happen during the judgment of the daughters of Zion, during the time that the majority of our sisters have bald heads up under their weave. He said during that time and that day, when most of our women don't have hair, don't have anything up under there to be proud of, and when most of our women have contracted different type of venereal diseases, when most of our women have walking around with outstretched necks that don't want to bring themselves up under the subjection of a righteous leadership, when our women have to go out of their way to put girdles on to make themselves look good, in that day when our women have to do all of these external things in order to attract the man because what they see is not really what it is, in that day when our sisters are in that particular position, he said, then in that day, 7 women will take hold of one man. It don't say one man gonna go out there and take hold of 7 women. It says 7 women gonna take hold of one man. That means that you as a man, you can be in a polygamous relationship, but it ain't got nothing to do with you. It got everything to do with God's judgment upon this woman. And what you're gonna do now is you'll bring 7 women into your house, 7 wicked, rebellious women that's up under the Most High's judgment. And you think that you're gonna have peace. You think it's a good thing because you can go around the boys and say, oh, I got 2 or 3 wives. Oh, I got this. Hey, listen, I'm not saying whether it is or whether it ain't. I'm just reading the book. He said, and when they take these men, this is what they're going to say. And I can prove it. He says, they're going to take hold of one man saying, don't y'all think it's a coincidence that now women are suddenly starting to have a different change of heart and are starting to agree now when it comes to these type of things? Don't y'all think it's something that's different that's happening? Why is it that the mindset is already changing now? This is what they're going to say. Watch. And they shall take hold of one man and say, we'll eat our own bread and we'll wear our own pearls. We'll wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. They steal the women with outstretched necks. They just been brought to shame. And now they need somebody to cover their reproach. They need somebody to cover their shame. So they'll take hold of one man who think that he got something going on. And this is what they'll tell him. Hey, you ain't got to do nothing for us. We'll eat our own bread. We'll wear our own apparel. Only thing you need to do is just let us be called by your name. Only thing we need you to do is just have sex with us every now and then. Let us just lead you into fornication. Let us just use your body up whenever we get ready. But we'll eat our own bread. That's simple. I'll work my own job. I'll make my own money. I'll drive my apparel. I'll drive my own car. You ain't got to worry about taking care of me. You ain't got to worry about being responsible for me. I'll handle all that. We'll keep the icebox full of food and we'll make sure all the bills is paid. Only thing we want you to do is that you just go into us. You just fulfill us sexually and we'll do the rest. Who are these women? Who are these women? These are the women that didn't have fathers. Like the father on that video post that everybody keeps sharing. These are women that didn't have fathers, that kept a close watchful eye over them. These are women who were shameless women, but they didn't allow, that they didn't have no father to keep them in check, to make sure that they was going to do what they were supposed to do. These are those women. You think I'm going to bring one of them women into my house? Huh? I sure hate it. No, I ain't bringing it. You ain't coming in my house. You ain't coming in my house. And Gretchen, when I start dealing with this issue of this judgment, we're not talking about all women that have experienced some form of alopecia, which is early baldness or hair loss. Some of our women have lost some of their hair because of cancer. Some of our women have lost their hair because of scalp disorders such as alopecia areata. Some of our women have been naturally entered into these places. We're not talking about those women. We're talking about our Brazilian weave wearing women. Our women that think they're hot it on a silver platter. We're talking about them women. We're talking about them women that's walking around like they got it all going. We're talking about them women that's talking about, I don't need no man to do nothing for me. The only thing I need a man for is sex. We're talking about them women, because them are the women that's in this book right here. And those women right there are a result of somebody that prostituted them. Namely, the person that failed to be responsible for them when they was coming up. Namely, their father. So, I'm going to leave that alone. All praises to the Most High Heavenly Father and His glorious Son.